What is up? What is up? What is up, everyone? Everyone, everyone. It is another day, another time, and another week for We'll Talk Monday. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a jam-packed, powerful episode planned for you all tonight. The last episode of the season. I have my girl, Miss Tevis, with me. How you doing, sis? So
Sorry,
what we're
still
gonna do,
muted.
y'all?
Hey,
So what we about
sorry.
to do, y'all, is we about to play the theme song, and then we about to get this started and go into prayer, and then let our guests introduce themselves. So let's go. What is up? What is up? What is up, y'all? It is another day, another time, and another week for We'll Talk Monday.
What is up? What is up? What is up? What is up? What's up with you? What is up? What is up? What is up? It's only up from here. What is up? What is up? What is up? Let's go. What is up? What is up? What is up? Real talk. Real talk. What is up? What is up? What is up? Real talk. Real talk. Monday. Tune in to Real Talk Monday with Reverend James H. Glover III, a godly show that keeps it real.
All right, let's go into the Lord in prayer, and then we'll get into our guest at this time. Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for all that you have done and all that you are continuing to do. Right now, Lord, we'd ask you to bless this show. Let it be what you would have it to be. Let your name get the glory, your name get the honor, and your name get the praise. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Tevis, I'm going to let you take over from here, sis.
All right. So, thank you guys all for being here. Of course, I am Tevis. I am the co-host of Real Talk Monday. Today, we are going to talk about a topic that is, to me, very important, but I know it's kind of I don't want to say taboo, but it's almost kind of one of those conversations people are scared to have with people. So it's called Growing Up Biracial. I have three wonderful guests, all that I know pretty well. And from here, I'm going to allow you guys just to introduce yourself, your name, where you're from, and anything else that you choose to say. And Jasmine, we'll start with you.
Um, my name is Jasmine Bird. I am from Bowling Green, Kentucky. Pretty much originally born in Russellville, currently in Russellville, but I am 42 years old. Have two children. Well, actually, a grown man and another 16-year-old and two granddaughters. Um, and my background as far as ethnicity is my mom is white and my dad is African American, black.
Thank you. Thank you. Jason, it's on you, buddy.
All right. Hey, everybody. My name is Jason Pender, originally born and raised in Miami, Florida. I am currently an entrepreneur of sorts. I have a couple of businesses that I run. Um, I also, I'm a father of three children and a husband, and I am biracial. My dad is black and my mother is white.
Thank you. Thank you. Stormy.
Hey everyone, my name is Stormy Cunningham. I am 38. I live in Fort right by Fort Knox. It's Radcliffe, Kentucky. And I have four kids. My mother, she is Caucasian, and my father is African American.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for introducing. James, do you want to introduce yourself? Are you good? You good? Okay.
Nah, I think they pretty much know me on here. I think they pretty much know us.
Okay. Okay. So today, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about growing up biracial. We're going to just kind of have conversation, right? I always like to give a disclaimer. Um, as many of you guys know, we are in the United States of America, where we are in a melting pot. So we are all mixed with something in some capacity. However, the individuals that are with us tonight have that direct contact with being mixed with something. So I want to let everybody know that these are our views and our opinions. Nothing that we're saying is trying to force anyone to be anything other than or believe anything other than what you already feel and believe. It's just conversation, just to kind of get understanding and enlighten each other and anyone else that is here. I guess the first question I want to ask is probably one of the last questions that I had sent out, and that is, I want to ask you guys, what do you all think race is? What is race to you? When you hear people say people are of different race, et cetera, what does that mean to you guys? And we're going to popcorn it, so you all anybody can talk whenever.
I struggle with that, with race in general, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I just wish there wasn't, that we didn't have to be classified.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? What race am I? I'm a human being. I'm part of the
Mm-hmm.
human race. You know what I mean? That's how I view. That's why I try to teach my kids.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't really matter where you're from. At the end of the day, we're all human.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I
Jasmine?
believe I'm kind of on the same page. I'm sorry. I'm
No, no,
kind
no.
of
I didn't know. No, no. You can talk. I didn't know if Jasmine heard the question. Did you hear the
okay.
question? Okay, you did. Okay, that's all. Go ahead, Stormy. You can go ahead.
I think I'm kind of on the same page. My parents raised me where everybody was the same. You treat everybody equal, and I've never, obviously you see different colors, but I've never raised my kids to treat anyone different because of a color. So,
Okay.
I would have to agree with everyone else. I was raised the same. There's really no difference, in anyone. Of course, there are the obvious questions and things that you have whenever you're growing up, and we would discuss those. But for the most part, I mean, you treat everyone the same.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I like to define things and then kind of go from there. And so, of course, there's tons of things when you Google race. One of the ones that I found, it said it is the form of oppression based on race. Unlike discrimination, oppression takes into account power, who is positioned to hold power and who is positioned not to hold power as a result of the way society has been set up and function for generations. In other words, oppression takes into account agent and target group membership. People who identify as Black, Indigenous, I can't say the word, and people of color are targets of racism. So, of course, we know race is a shorter term phrase for racism. So when I personally, whenever I would think of race, I remember as a young child, I would immediately go to racism, right? Almost like a power position, right, amongst the races. So, I think about when each of you all said your parents didn't raise you all to see color. I remember when Ava was she was 3 and she was in a P3 program at a preschool back home in Bowling Green. It was a Holy Trinity Lutheran school, and she was from, I think they had like P3 all the way up to 4th grade. She was the only little Black girl in the school. And my baby is a chocolate girl. And so, of course, she didn't see color, but me walking into the school, of course, that's the first thing I noticed. So I asked the teachers, like, how do you all teach about color or race? And she said we don't. The only time we bring that up is when we're talking about God and the Bible and Jesus and how God loves us, like no matter what color we are, no matter what we look like, tall, short, blah blah blah. So a lot of times, when Ava would come home, she would say, "Mama, the little blue boy, he kept picking on me," and I'm like, "The little blue boy? Why does she keep saying blue boy?" Then she come home, Mama, the little red boy keeps playing in my braids, and he tells me he likes them all the time. I'm like, well, that's good. But she was describing the kids by the color of clothes they had on, not the white boy or the black boy. And I love that so much. She didn't see the color, right? That innocence was still there, and then of course until it's not. So I do think that is great, and unfortunately, eventually, the blinders are taken off, and people do start seeing color. But I think to initially start out like that, I think that's great. I think that's great. James, did you want to tell your perspective on
I
race?
definitely agree
Okay.
with. Definitely. As far as race goes, I agree with what's already been stated. We are all one race. It's the human race, and at the end of the day, when we all look at it in all actuality, when you look at the situations that we may go through, all of us have our own issues that we go through on a day-to-day basis. So it doesn't give us any rights to look down on anybody else as far as race is or race, whatever may be. All we have to do is just keep believing in God and trusting in God in all of our ways.
Thank you all for sharing. One thing that I see amongst a lot of people is of the same race is colorism, right? Do you all feel that you all have been a part of colorism, being biracial, or um, yeah? Tell me your thoughts on that colorism. Have you all had to? Do you feel like you've been a part of that?
I guess I'm not really too familiar with the term colorism. Can
Okay.
you explain?
Yeah. So I'm gonna give you the definition. So colorism is a prejudice or discrimination amongst a culture, an ethnicity. For example, when I went to an all white elementary school growing up. When I got to middle school and I was so excited to be around black girls. Well, guess what? All the black girls picked on me. Why do they pick on me? Because I was light skinned, because I had long hair, because I talk like a white girl, right? So it's prejudice within your culture. So,
Mm,
maybe girls that are darker than me feel some kind of way because I'm lighter, right? So that's kind of what
gotcha,
it is.
gotcha.
Mhm.
Well, I think I didn't experience it that bad for the fact that we are right here outside of Fort Knox. So, military, you're going to see a lot of interracial couples. And
Mhm.
so I didn't have it as bad. I did have a couple of, situations where, you know, I wasn't black enough or I wasn't white
Mhm.
enough, but
Mhm.
it wasn't ever, biracial children really that gave me any
Mhm.
trouble.
Mhm. So when you went through that phase of not feeling like you weren't black enough or white enough, how did you maneuver through those waters?
I kind of talked to my parents, and my parents were like, you're you. You can't wash this off. You're not gonna ever be, So you
Mhm.
kind of I had to just embrace who I was and what I
Mhm.
was, and just let everybody know, the jokes and the teasing and stuff. I had my friends,
Mhm.
and so the ones that were joking and teasing weren't really my friends, and that's kind of just where I had to go with it.
Right. Right.
Exactly.
Jasmine, did you experience that?
Um, no, not really. I mean, there was a little, picking as far as a big thing was always, you think you're so pretty, coming from
Mhm.
some people, and I don't know why, some girls
Right.
mean like that sometimes.
Mhm.
Just
Mhm.
get through it.
And was that from girls that were darker than you?
It was
Mhm. Mhm.
most of them.
Most of them. Did you all receive any of that type of picking from white girls? No. I can preach right now, but I'm not. I'm going to stay focused. Okay. Okay. What about you? So, Jason, do you feel like you experienced that with guys? Do you think you
Yeah,
experienced that?
No, I don't think I've experienced that with guys. I think I just got lucky, to be honest with you, because like I said, I'm from Miami, so we have so many different
Melting.
cultures down here.
Mhm.
I mean, it's truly a melting pot.
Mhm.
You got Spanish, Puerto Rican, Cuban, you got Dominican, you got Haitian, you got
Mhm.
Ghanaian people. You know what I'm saying? It's just
Mhm.
African people. It's just
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah. And everybody is a different shade no matter where you're from. Everybody is not that same, maybe darker skin like they may assume. You know what I'm saying? So
Right, right.
yeah, 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 yeah. What about you, James? Did you ever experience that growing up in the community that you were in, being a chocolate boy?
I wouldn't say it would be being the chocolate boy, as they would say, but I would say it came more from what I did, where some of them
Mm-hmm.
was running around, hanging out on the streets a lot of the times. With my
Mm-hmm.
parents, I couldn't do that. I knew where I had
Mm-hmm.
to be. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of them kind of thought, like, oh, he thinks he's better than us because he's doing this. No, that's not the case at all. It's just
Mm-hmm.
thanks be to God for the parents that I had, because if it wasn't for them,
Mm-hmm.
no telling where I would be.
Right. Right. Okay. Okay. Um, what you all had already shared, what you guys are mixed with. How did you guys identify yourself growing up, or even now? At school when we had to take the test and mark black or white, or and like. I know some tests will, or some things will allow you to mark more than one. A lot of times, especially growing up before everybody took off the blinders. You didn't really have a choice. You had to pick either or. Sometimes it gives more options now. Which did you all choose growing up? Like from kindergarten till maybe high school, did it ever change at some point compared to now?
Yeah, I think for me, it was always other.
Mm,
Especially growing up, it was always other. And then when someone would say, "Well, you have to pick one or the other," then and like for instance, like maybe like a government uh, license or something like that, where it had to be very specific or
mm-hmm,
contract, I think I would just put white because
mm-hmm,
that's what I look more like.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
That's not necessarily how I felt,
mm-hmm.
but if I had to be classified for someone else to identify me, then it would be white.
Interesting, interesting. And so did you do that because if I choose white, they're not going to look at me differently, or I will probably get this job interview quicker, or
Oh yeah, never really like I was never really what's the word? I was just like, okay, I need to put something down. Okay, this is what it's gonna be,
mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm,
that's it. You know, you want
mm-hmm,
to classify me as something. You want to put me in a class. You want to put me in a box. Okay, I
mm-hmm,
look more like this box,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
but that's what it came
Okay,
down to.
okay, okay, okay. What about you, ladies?
I was always told you're black. You're black. Like I was just that's how I was raised. I mean, military, you're what your dad is, you're black.
Mm-hmm,
Um, so that's kind of always how I did it. But when I got to high school, I had never realized until like my junior year. I guess someone saw me and I guess they thought it was wrong. So when I had got one of my transcripts back, it said one, and one meant white. And so when I had went to my counselor, he looked at me, he was like, "No, you're not white." And then so they had to correct it. But yeah.
mm. Interesting, interesting. Which, a lot of times, especially when you go back and read in history, they say that we are supposed to always identify whatever our father is, right? And then the whole brown paper bag thing back in the day, if you are, look so much 25% like this or whatever the percentage is, then you have to identify as black, right? Or you're going to be in the field, not in the house. So yeah, that's different. That is definitely something that I have always taught my nephews. You can put white on everything if you want to, but when the police look at you, or a white man,
Mm-hmm.
they're not saying no white boy,
Mm-hmm.
they're saying a black
Mm-hmm.
boy, right? And so anyway, I'll share my story later. But go ahead, Jasmine.
I always selected two. I would select both of them, even if it did paycheck one.
Yeah.
Nobody ever corrected it, so I always
Mm-hmm.
selected the two. And
And
then, eventually there became a two or more races, and
mm-hmm.
I thought that was a moving point, honestly, whenever that was
It
actually,
was. It was progressive.
yeah.
Seriously, yeah. I agree. I agree. Yeah, that's interesting. I oftentimes, I think I remember talking to Natasha about that back when we were kids and asking her, what she would put, and I think it just depends. It depends on what the applications that said, the options, but. It seems like in times past, a lot of people that have been of multiple races would typically put other. And then a lot of people, I've heard people say that they don't want to not acknowledge one more than the other. Like that's an internal.
Yeah,
I don't want to not acknowledge my mom's side or my dad's side. I'm both.
absolutely.
And I feel that. And I would say if I was of mixed race, I would definitely try to put both every time I could. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's cool. Um, so now at this age, do you all still practice those same methods? Do y'all still do that?
Now I put two or more races.
Mm-hmm. All of you guys do now?
Yeah, I mean, other or
Mm-hmm.
other. If they got to be specific, I'll put other.
Mm-hmm. 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 Why do you think that's changed since you were younger?
Um, I guess every time I see the question, it just bothers me.
Mm-hmm.
So part of me is like, I want to be like the guy that says, what, screw it, I'm just gonna put Chinese.
Mm-hmm. Right, right.
you,
So
you know,
totally opposite. Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, what does it really matter? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, but for the most part, I put other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'll
Um,
let them guess.
Mm-hmm. I don't blame you.
so just to kind of hit on it not mattering, and you know, I definitely do agree with you to some extent. But I guess previously working in employment and human resources and having to account for certain races and things, affirmative action, I guess that's a reason why it does kind of matter, to make sure it's equal treatment for people. So I think that that's one reason why that started being such a, something that needed to be completed. You
Mm-hmm.
know?
I think that's good. And we don't always think of the bigger picture, when we're doing it. We're thinking about ourselves in this moment and why we do or do not like or want to answer the question. But that's good to know. That's definitely good to know. Um, what about you, Stormy? Has yours hadn't changed? You said you answered. You answered. You told me.
Yeah.
Um, did you all feel like growing up, were you all closer to one side of the family versus the other side? Were you all around one side of the family more than the other, or was it kind of equal both ways?
I think I was closer to my mom's side. Um, they they were just a little bit more accepting of my parents' interracial relationship. My dad was from Georgia, and
Mm-hmm.
they weren't very comfortable with it for a little while. My
Mm-hmm.
grandmother finally got a little bit more comfortable, but my mother dealt with a lot of rude comments and remarks for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And the older I got, it got a little bit better because I guess they realized my mom wasn't going anywhere and I wasn't either. But
Mm-hmm.
um, she was a tough cookie, and
It's
that
interesting.
so I was much more closer to my mom's side than I
Mm-hmm.
was my father's until like I said, as an adult. And my grandmother, she did apologize and stuff like that. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, given where she lived and what she knew and how she saw. You know what I'm saying? You can't like completely blame them or fault them, because there's also a fear on the Black side when it comes to
Right.
that. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's always interesting for me to hear when the Black side is more resistant to accepting, right? Because usually we are the ones that's more accepting, and it's the white side that gives the pushback. So
Right.
that it's always interesting to hear that. Okay, Jasmine, Jason.
So yeah, the question is, what was the question again? Who I identify with, basically?
Or which side of the family were you closer to growing up,
Oh,
if you were, if it was, but pretty equal?
right. So I was definitely close to my dad's side of the family. My dad being black,
Mm-hmm.
Black American, a little bit of Indian in there as well. Um, all my cousins were accepting of me. I never had an issue with race. Never had. Never. I can't recall one time when someone said, the little white boy or
Mm-hmm.
the kid that doesn't have a primary color or
Mm-hmm.
anything like that. It's
Mm-hmm.
just thankfully,
Yeah,
and maybe
that's
maybe that's the energy that I um, gave out as well. You know what I
mhm.
mean? That it really didn't matter to me. What you thought of me. Basically, if I was white or black, I'm just me. I'm just
Right.
Jason.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's really good. That's good. Jasmine.
Um, I was equal with both sides. Luckily, everybody was pretty close on both sides. My mom's family and my dad's family are, maybe 20 minutes apart as far as the counties go.
Mm-hmm.
So there was just, one grandma may take me to the other grandmas during a summer break or something. I would
Mm-hmm.
typically split up time. Holidays, we would go to one in the morning and the other in the evening. So, I mean, everything was pretty equal.
Yeah, that's good. That's definitely a blessing for sure. For sure. So if you all had to like imagine, um, or think back to your childhood, what was something that like stuck out to you more than anything about your family dynamic? What was like the thing that you hold dear? Good. It could be something you hold dear, or something you're like, that is something that I don't want to pass on. Is there anything that you can think back on that makes you kind of feel either of those ways? And it's okay if not, but
Yeah, and I have to think about that one for me.
no. Okay, that's okay. That's okay. Do you guys feel like you guys missed out on anything because you were biracial, or do you feel like you all's childhood was pretty normal?
I'll be honest. I felt like my childhood was great.
Good.
Um, it was just my childhood was great. I mean, I really had no issues with any of the black kids, any of the white kids, the Spanish kids. Um, I think I think for the most part, I think with me is I could identify if I was in a let's say I was in a larger group and they were predominantly black people or black kids,
Mm-hmm.
I would identify with that. I guess I'm not saying that my demeanor would change, but I was amongst my people,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the same thing for when I was around like a group of white friends.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't change. I was still
Mm-hmm.
who I was. I still dressed the same, but
Mm-hmm.
I also identified with them as well. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I always said it growing up. I had the best of both worlds.
That's good. That's really good for sure. What about you, ladies?
Um, so I mean, I'm not definitely not trying to be, controversial or anything,
No,
but
you're good.
uh, I think that we, at least on this podcast right here, have been, pretty fortunate with our families and, how we grew up. Um, I do think that, the times prior to us, like when my parents were growing up,
Mm-hmm.
was quite different. And then to just kind of look back at that and then see how I grew up and then to present day and me personally raising two Black young men,
Mm-hmm.
with a lot of the things that have gone on in the last few years, just bringing a lot of light to things that really weren't even topics whenever I was growing up.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure they were, but not like they are today. And
Mm-hmm.
it was just different times, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that, it's kind of had me revisiting different, you know, just different things growing up and family and just trying to dig a little deeper,
Mm-hmm.
on both sides. Um, so just a different perspective to throw in there.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Stormy, what about you?
Yeah, I feel like I was just very fortunate. So
Yeah. Yeah, which is really good, which is good. So, can you all say that you all have always been comfortable in your skin? Jason, you definitely sound like you have always been.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stormy and Jasmine, both of you all as well.
yeah.
That's good. That's really, really good. That's good. That's good. Now, if I'm remembering correctly, everybody has a mom that is white or Caucasian. Do you feel like it was ever an awkward moment with you and your mom? Because for any reason, whether it's hair, whether it's makeup, whether it's whatever it is, dating, was there ever something um, that was maybe not that you would say this or felt this, but if she was a black woman, could have related to you differently or better versus being a white mom? And
Uh,
don't take that as being bad in any kind of way. It just sounds bad, but because we love our mamas. I know y'all love y'all's mom, but I'm just saying if there was ever a moment that something happened that if she was a black woman, she might have related better than she did as a white woman.
I don't think so. I mean, I know I make the joke, and my mom still talks about it. I used to tell people my mom's clear because she wasn't quite white. Like my mom will give it to you how it is, and
Right.
so I didn't really experience any of that where I'm like, she doesn't understand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
My mom was always around black women, and so she knew the culture.
Mm-hmm.
She was a cosmetologist. She went to cosmetology school. She did black hair. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, so my mom, she was on it most of the time with
Right.
everything.
That's good. That's what about you?
Um, my mom has never been a hair doing kind of woman anyway, even
Mm-hmm.
pre me. So
Right.
I definitely did not change anything for her.
Mm-hmm.
So, hair was just something that around 4 years old, I started, carrying around a water bottle to keep my hair wet all the time. So, it would just be curly all the time. So,
Mm-hmm.
my aunts, whenever, summer visits or whatever, I would go to my dad's sisters and they would do my hair for me, every now and
Mm-hmm.
then. So, I mean, it really wasn't a big deal. But my mom, nothing changed.
Yeah.
She's always been like that. She's never been a high heels kind of girl.
Right.
Makeup very little, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm quite the opposite, really,
Mm-hmm.
where that's
Mm-hmm.
concerned, or used to
Mm-hmm.
be anyway.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Jason, what about you?
I think with my mom, she just always understood the culture.
Mm-hmm.
And she came to my dad's my dad's defense quite often, to the point where it would get annoying sometimes.
Mm,
Um, so she faced a lot of that, but her parents and my dad's parents were all for it. Love is love, right?
mhm,
So
mhm,
they went through all that adversities and stuff like that. But
mhm.
yeah, she just, you know, she knew what she was signing up for, and
Right.
she went head on with it. So
Mhm, mhm.
yeah.
Okay. I know I had a question on here about hair. What did y'all have any like? Well, and I guess Stormy, yours might have been a little bit easier and better because your mom went to cosmetology school. But was there ever any like hair wars? Like, your mom, I don't know what type texture y'all's mom's hair is, but was there ever a difference where like mom just did not know what to do with your hair? If it was in its complete natural state, curly, whatever, what is that? Is y'all's hair natural curly? Is it more straight? Is it more wavy? What is you all's natural hair pattern?
I'll be
I know.
short and simple. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'll be short and simple. I mean, my hair was confused.
Really?
It started out straight, and when you see
Mm-hmm.
when you see like childhood photos of me, I actually had blonde hair.
Wow.
But then it started getting really dark, 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 and then it started curling in some areas.
Mm-hmm.
Until I lost it, but yeah,
Mhm, mhm.
but
Interesting.
it was just confused.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I had real big curls.
Mhm,
My curls weren't tight or anything. They were just really big. They still are, but yeah.
mhm, mhm. So was it easy to manage for you when you started fiddling with it, or was it and for your
Um,
mom as well?
yeah, it wasn't too bad. Now my hair was short when I was little, and my grandma had took me and my cousin to take pictures, and of course she didn't know, so she picked it. So I have
Mhm,
pictures
mhm.
where I have like an afro and stuff
Right,
like that. But yeah,
right, right. Okay,
Mine's natural curly as well,
okay.
but all of my younger pictures are all afro type pictures,
Mhm.
curly fro.
Right.
But the older that I got, the more that, straightening products and
Mhm.
different things became available. And then it
Right.
would just make my hair longer, I think is
Mhm.
why I like the straight so much. So,
Yeah, and
yeah.
I think that's most little girls too, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I will
Um,
say I will say something about the hair thing though. I did
mhm,
have growing up. Most of my friends were black,
mhm.
um, and I used to admire. Back in the day, we used to put like lines, and you put like the S curl, and then you do like the little Gumby thing. I'm like,
Right, right.
man, I used to like, man, why can't my hair do that?
Do that.
I used to literally. I just had a conversation. I reunited one of my friends from my old block 2 weeks
Mhm.
ago, and we had that conversation. I was like, "Man, I used to love your hair, man. Used to put like
That's
the S
interesting.
curl with the do
Mhm,
rag." And I actually got a do rag one time and just played
mhm.
with. My mom was like, "What the hell are you doing?"
That's like because you don't really hear guys say that, right? You don't really hear them admire somebody
Yeah,
else's hair like so. That's interesting. That's interesting to hear that for sure.
yeah. I used to think it was cool. I couldn't
Yeah.
really do too much of my hair, so.
Right. Right. Did you all experience outside of what we've talked about with some of the little mean girls? What it didn't sound like you guys really experienced bullying outside of pretty much what you all shared. Is that what I'm hearing?
I didn't experience.
Yeah, yeah,
I
pretty
think
much what
I
you
think
said.
the worst thing I got called was like an Oreo or a zebra or something like that. So it
Hmm.
wasn't anything that
Oh,
was just going to be detrimental to me.
Right, 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 right. So do you all remember the first time? I mean, have you all experienced someone calling you guys the N word? Yes. Do you remember the first time and what you thought and how it made you feel?
hmm. You mean somebody who did not know us, or
Yes. Yes.
uh,
Yes.
I've I've never been called the N word.
Okay.
I don't think I
So
experienced it until an adult.
really,
So yeah, and
what?
it
How?
was when I was with my husband. So I mean, I don't-
So in that moment, how did you feel? What did you think?
Oh,
And was
I
it?
mean,
Go ahead.
you're angry.
Yeah.
You're upset about it. It wasn't that I didn't understand. I understood what
Mm-hmm.
their reason. I mean, they were just hateful. But yeah,
Right. What about you, Jasmine?
Um, yeah, I mean, I really didn't truly experience it until I was about 20,
Mm-hmm.
almost 21. And, just to keep it short and sweet, it was with an employer. And, we resolved everything before it went too big. But yeah, it was actually a big deal, back in
Sure.
2000. So
Right. Right. And they did it thinking, knowing you would hear them, or that you wasn't gonna hear them.
no, they actually it was management, so it was more than just a coworker, but actually had a conversation, and whenever I asked about it, it just kind of blew up from there. And so I ended up being terminated for that reason, and so there it went. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. Um, I had a thought when somebody was saying something. I'm not sure. So did you all so you all are married. Did you all end up marrying a black person or a white person?
my husband's black.
My wife is black. She's actually Jamaican.
My husband's black.
So do you all, they oftentimes say girls marry like their father, boys marry their mom. Do you all feel like that fit in you all situation? Have you all dated like
Mm,
all races, or were you always attracted to black women or black men, or did it matter? Share that with me.
who wants to go first? Okay.
I'll go first. I feel like I keep going first. I try to give everybody a pausing time, like go. Um, I have only dated biracial and black men. I've never dated a white man.
And is there a reason?
I feel like maybe that's just what I'm attracted to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Maybe it's because I'm daddy's girl, but I mean, like, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Look at y'all. Who's gonna go?
I'm saying ladies first.
Right. I think mine is about an attraction too. And I've just, historically been attracted more to black men.
Okay.
Yeah, I had so I've always been attracted more so to black women. But I have dated several other different cultures,
Mm-hmm.
and I've dated white as well. Um, but I would stand to say that I really don't. I favor black women by this much. It's just I'm more attracted to the personality than anything else. You
Mm-hmm.
know.
And so it sounds like for all of you guys, it's more of an attraction thing, more so than because my dad or my mom is this color. So it's just more of an attraction thing. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. You all have children. Um, Now, did your children take on more of the African American black side, or the white Caucasian side? And are their parents? Well, I know yours, but I know Jason, you have a child that's not with your wife. Is his mother black
Mm,
also?
his mother is also black. Yes,
Okay,
yes,
okay,
and they both identify as black.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Now, so yeah, so okay, so that identifies black. What about you all's children, Jasmine and Stormy? Or you had a baby girl? Has she been in that weird questioning phase yet, Jason? Is she
Y-
does she identify as black as well?
Yeah, she does. I actually asked her today what she identified as, and she said, "You know what? I guess black. I guess, yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
You
mm-hmm.
know, I mean, she's 12 years old.
Right.
So the school that she attends now is probably like 20% black,
Mm-hmm,
another 10% Spanish, and then the rest Caucasian.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But yeah, she identifies as black.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Both
Um,
boys
go
are
ahead.
identified as black.
Your boys identify as black, and both of their fathers are black as well, right?
Yeah, they
Okay.
are.
Okay.
Okay.
Stormy.
So I have four. Two of them are with biracial man, and then the other two are with my husband, a black man. Um, my oldest daughter, all four of them look different, but they look the same. It's kind of odd, but my oldest daughter considers herself biracial, so she did that. My son, I asked him the other day because I told him I was coming on here, and I was curious, and he said he identifies as black. Um, and then my younger two, my third child, she said that she identifies as biracial. She's with my husband. She is also my lightest child, which that was crazy to me when I didn't know what to expect. And then my youngest daughter, she identifies as black,
Mm-hmm.
and she doesn't look like she has a white grandmother. So
Mm-hmm.
they all look different but the same.
Yeah, that's interesting. So the I guess one of the questions that I was curious about, I guess as parents now in this generation with children that are 8 to 25, 26 years old, um, given all that's been going on, as Jasmine said, the world we live in now is definitely different than when we were younger, and then definitely different from when our parents was younger. So the conversations that you all have had, especially with your boy children, your male children, has it been hard to communicate with them about these things, or are you guys just that keep it real, honest, and let's just put it out on the line? How have you all handled those conversations with all your children?
So I think for my two boys, who identify as black men, um, we just sometimes, especially the younger of the two boys, who's he's my son, right? So my wife has a son from a previous marriage. He's full African American and Jamaican, whereas my son is maybe 25% white. Um, we have to remind him on a consistently that hey, you are a black boy, and you can't really what's the word? You have to be careful and cautious of who you're around, the things that you say. Um, you have to be aware. And he doesn't really fully get it at
Mm-hmm.
times, so we have to kind of just instill that in him because he's had a pretty decent childhood as well. And it's just like me growing up, same thing where my parents would tell me, "Hey, you're considered black."
Mm-hmm.
Um, so you have to be cautious. People might want to take advantage of that or uh, put you in a light that you didn't create. You know what I mean? So we have to remind him that hey, you're a black boy. You
Mm-hmm.
gotta just be mindful of that. It's not ideal, but
Yeah.
Um, with our son, we have a lot of conversations with him the same way. Especially with dating. He's 17 now. He's interested in girls. Just about he he doesn't discriminate. So we have to let him know you don't go in anyone's house unannounced. You don't be caught somewhere you're not supposed to be. We really harp on that. My husband is big on that kind of stuff, just letting him know when he goes out, keep your head on the swivel, know what's going on around you.
It's real.
Yeah. I'm a lot like Stormy, when it comes to dating is when, the conversations have to be had a little more. And that's one of the things immediately because, sometimes they don't think about even that part that parents could have a problem with that. And so that's one of the first things that I ask whenever, they talk about girl or not D anymore, but Jaren, especially if he talks about girls, like, does her parents know, are they okay with that? Because, I just don't even want to go down that road. So,
Yeah, that's important. I have two nephews that are biracial. Their mom is white, and I have a niece whose mom is biracial. And they are all different. They all went through, well, I think only really one of them went through that identity, trying to find his place. And it was, and I don't know that he really knows that it was kind of hurtful for my parents. So one of them, he's a black boy, hands down. He'll say I'm biracial, but I'm pretty sure he identifies as black. And all of them, I'm pretty sure identifies as black. However, one of them went through that identity phase, probably maybe middle school. Parents going to the games, my parents, and supporting like we always have. But it's almost like he almost kind of got ashamed of the black side of him for a while. And it was really hurtful for my father because he, all the black history that I've ever learned came from my dad, right? That's just the man that he was. And I think it was when maybe the Jackie Robinson movie came out, and both of the boys played basketball and baseball, and he took them to see that movie, and it kind of shifted his thinking, right? When he realized, it's almost like sometimes you're in denial that both races have done crazy and terrible things, right? Like one race is not better at all, you know what I'm saying, than another race. We've all done crazy things, right? But I think sometimes they get caught up in thinking, and forgive me for saying this, white is always right, when that's just not the case, right? They've done crazy things just like every other race has done crazy things. As he has grown, he's been the interesting one to watch grow. Um, um, I think that we call him our cowboy, our black cowboy is what we call him, because one day he will be in Jordans and joggers and looking like the black boy, and the next day you may see him in some Red Wings and his cowboy hat, right? But that's him. And now, to me, he embraces it so much more, both sides, confidently, right? And I love that, because we've never said you need to be more one side than the other. We want you to love everybody, you know what I'm saying? But it was just interesting to see him go through that phase, right? I, hear stories growing up of, children that are mixed race going through the identity crisis, not feeling like they're one more than the other. but at some point it pivots. He went to the reserves, and I told my parents, and I said, when he comes back, he's gonna be black. He's gonna be black. I'm just letting y'all know, he's gonna be black when he come back. They're like, okay. When he came back, he was embracing it more, right? You could just clearly see that. I don't know, and I almost think, not almost, I know that he is a kid that can cut up, kick it with anybody, which can almost be scary because we're like, don't be too trusting of everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't be too, because at the end of the day, when you're with your white counterparts, guess what? You still black. And I did ask him, I was like, do they feel comfortable saying the N word around you? Have they ever said it? He's like, no. And I was like, okay, cool, right? But when he was there at the military, in the pictures, you could see that the crowd that he was around was the black boys. They embraced, right? And in my reading and my research over the years in school, it has always been a thing that most of the time, which is why I said, Stormy, your story is unique about your black grandmother. Most of the time, blacks accept everybody easier and quicker than other races, right? It's just how it's always been. And even when you think about HBCUs, and how, if anybody knows the history on why they were started, and the land grants and all of these things that are behind why HBCUs were started, was because white people didn't want us to go to their colleges. They didn't want us to gain the skills and tools. And even if we went 4 years, they would try to dummy it down as if we only got an associate's degree, right? Because they didn't want us to be where they are. So that's part of the reason why we had to start HBCUs. But when we started those HBCUs, if there was white people that wanted to come to our schools, we never dismissed that. We still welcomed them. You know what I'm saying? So I think as a black woman speaking on this topic, and just having friends and family members that have had these experiences, it's always interesting for me to hear people's stories. And I'm thankful that all three of you all have had some really good experiences and not been devastatingly bad like some of the other people in other parts of the world, right? I mean, even us being in Kentucky, and I think, that can be a fine line. And then Jason, you've been in Miami, which is, like you said, a melting pot. I think that definitely helps shape you and your confidence, right, in who you are as a person, and of course your parents and your family. So yeah, I think it's great. I think learning all history is very important, because we have a right to know. Our kids have a right to know. And this topic is hard for some people. It seemed way easy with you guys, I think, because you all's story wasn't too dramatic, which again, like I said, we know that that's not the case for other people. So as we're coming to an end, I just want to say thank you, and I want to give you guys a chance. If you all had to talk to some other little girl, little boy that is of mixed race and was struggling, what would be like the top two things that you would share with them to make them feel better?
Ladies first, or you want me to go first? I would just say it's I think it starts I think it starts with the parents. And if for some reason you're not getting um that assurity that you need as a young adult, you just got to look within and just trust God, and know that He puts you right where you need to be. Um, that's basically, that's what comes to mind when I think about your question.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've been fortunate. I love my culture. I love being biracial. Um, and for me, it's just the best of both worlds. And if you have like an outlook, maybe you can see it. It's almost like you're seeing the world through two different lenses. and it's the perfect world.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's it
Um,
for me.
I think I would just let them know that you're beautiful as you are. You're made with love, and just push through.
And I just agree because I mean that's I agree with them.
Okay. 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 Um, so James, do you have any thing to say, or would you like for me to, if, well, let me do this first. If you all have any type of businesses or you work at a job that's hiring or anything like that, we always like for people to advertise their businesses, or, if you work at a job where you're part of the hiring process, we always like to give people the platform to do that, because we know word of mouth is everything, and I definitely know all too well how challenging entrepreneurship is. So if you all want to share what you do, how people can find you, please go forth with that.
Yeah, so I'll go. So I recently started a new business venture where I just recently opened up a lounge, and the name of the lounge is actually called Afro Lounge.
Love it.
And you can find us on Instagram, Facebook. It's underscore Afro Lounge underscore. Um, Business partner of mine, he's from Ghana. He's an African man. He pitched the idea to me, and we've been hitting the ground running ever since.
Nice. Well, congratulations on that.
Appreciate it, appreciate it. And we're located in Pompano Beach. I didn't mention that.
Okay.
Pompano Beach, Florida.
Okay. Jasmine, Stormy.
I have nothing to advertise, but thank you for having me. It was nice conversation.
Thank you for being here. Stormy.
Um, well, my husband, he also has a podcast, and
Mm-hmm.
he has a network. So I mean, through my eyes with One Eyed Willie, it's about the culture, hip hop. Um, and then I am also starting a podcast that'll be coming out soon. It's for basic adults, and it's that's what she said. And
Mm.
so it'll be on the same network, 25/8 network. So there you go.
Okay, okay. Well, James, before I do the final wrap up, do you have anything to say about anything that we talked about today? I know you was kind of the man behind the scene because we not of mixed race, but do
Right.
do you have anything to add on or to say?
Definitely, this was a great episode tonight. It was definitely informative, and I love episodes like this where we go away learning more information than what we did when we started. That is what this show is all about: is educating and helping each other learn more. You all stay with us, bear with us. We will be on break the whole month of May. We are finally taking a break, and we will be back in June and picking up and hitting the ground running. But while we are on break, starting May the 11th, we need you all to go to the Music Love Awards website and vote for, I'm sorry, May the 15th, I'm sorry, and vote for Real Talk Monday as the podcast of the year. So y'all rock with us, vote for us. We would definitely appreciate it.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, again, thank you all for being here and having this conversation with us. I think this has been probably one of our more calmer conversations, which is kind of new for
Right, right.
so thank you guys for being here and sharing your stories. And I'm very thankful that you all have had great experiences, being the beautiful people that you all are. Of course, I am Tevis. My My business is Savette Empowerment, where I do coaching and consulting with educators from birth on up, and training. So if you all know of any programs or educators that need me, tell them to call me. Also, new entrepreneurs, just helping with leadership development, organizational development, and you can find me on IG and Facebook and TikTok. So that is all I have.
Thank you
All right.
guys for having me.
Thank you.
Thank
Y'all
you
have a
all
good
for
night.
coming on. See you all in June. God bless.